Why he never fully lets you go. Carl Jung. Have you ever wondered why that man who said he didn't want commitment keeps showing up in your life? It disappears for weeks but always comes back with a message at the exact moment you are starting to forget it. It doesn't assume you, it doesn't prioritize you, but it doesn't set you free either. It's like you're stuck in an emotional limbo, neither inside nor completely outside of his life. The most disturbing thing is that this does not happen by chance. There is a deep psychological reason, studied by Carl Jung, that explains this manipulative behavior. He keeps you around not because he loves you, but because you represent something he doesn't want to lose, even without offering you anything real in return. In this video, you will discover the unconscious mechanisms that make a man act this way, and especially how to recognize when you are being kept as a reserve option. Get ready, because what you will discover can completely change the way you see this relationship. 1. The illusion of emotional control. When a man keeps you in this position of uncertainty, he is feeding a deep need to feel that he is in control of the situation. It's not about you specifically, but about the feeling of power he experiences, knowing he can have you whenever he wants. This behavior reveals an insecurity disguised as indifference. He needs to feel that he is wanted, but without taking the risks of a real commitment. The interesting thing is that the more you show yourself to be available, the more he feels in charge. Every time you accept his crumbs of attention, you reinforce this dynamic. He learns that he can disappear, come back, disappear again, and you will still be there. This creates a vicious cycle where he never has to really push himself because he knows you're not going away. This need for control comes from a place of inner emptiness. Men like this often have difficulty dealing with their own emotions and use control over other people as a way to compensate for this fragility. When he feels that he is losing this control over you, that you are moving away or showing less interest, something inside him activates. It's like an internal alarm that makes you run back. The truth is, he doesn't really want to be with you, but he also can't stand the thought of losing you to someone else. This paradox is the essence of emotional control. He wants to keep you in a state of constant waiting, always available, always waiting for him. And as long as you remain in this position, he will continue to feed this illusion that one day things can change, that he can finally choose you for real. What makes it all the more confusing is that he truly believes he's not doing anything wrong. In his mind, you're free to walk away at any time. He never promised you anything, never made a commitment, so technically, he's not fooling you. But the reality is that he knows exactly what he's doing. He feeds hopes with calculated gestures, appears at the right moments, says the right words. All of this creates a sense that there is something real there, when in fact, there is only manipulation. This false innocence of his is part of the strategy to keep you imprisoned without taking responsibility for the suffering you cause. 2. The fear of losing validation. Every human being needs validation at some level, but there are people who depend on it in an unhealthy way. When a man keeps you around without offering you a real relationship, he's using you as a constant source of validation. Every message from you, every demonstration that you still care, acts as a temporary remedy for his insecurity. This kind of validation is addictive. He can't just let you go because that would mean giving up someone who makes him feel important, wanted, and special. His ego feeds on your attention. That's why even when he's involved with other people, he still comes back to you. No external validation is enough to fill the void it carries. The problem is that this void will never be filled by anyone from the outside. He needs to do an inside job that most people avoid doing. It is easier to collect admirers and keep several people in orbit than to face one's own insufficiency. You become just another piece in this game of constant self-assertion. When you start to walk away, he feels like he's missing out on an important source of validation. It's as if a part of the mirror that reflects the inflated image of him starts to crack. That's why he comes back with promises, with renewed attention, with exactly what you wanted to hear. Not because he has changed, but because he needs to restore that source of validation that was slipping away. This dynamic becomes even more cruel when you realize that it was never about love or real connection. It was always about what you represented to his fragile ego. While you were offering genuine love, he was only collecting proof that it is desirable. The difference between these two intentions is abysmal and explains why you never felt truly reciprocated. The most disturbing thing is to realize how much of your energy has been wasted feeding the ego of someone who never really valued you. Every loving message you sent, every night you spent awake thinking about him, every plan you made involving a future together, all of this only served to inflate his self-image as you emptied yourself inside. And the worst thing is that he knew it all along. If you want to understand why he never truly lets you go, even when he tries to move on, inside the Jung Method, I explain the unconscious pattern that keeps that bond alive. If this resonates with you, watch the Jung Method. It's pinned in the first comment. 3. You as a backup object. The expression may sound harsh, but it reflects exactly what happens in these situations. You are not his priority, but you are not discarded either. You are in an intermediate position where he can turn to you when it suits him. It's like having a backup plan saved for specific occasions, with no real commitment involved. This behavior is extremely selfish and manipulative. He keeps you emotionally invested while he explores other possibilities. If things don't work out with other people, he knows he can come back to you. If he's bored or needy, you're right there. If it needs attention or validation, you're a safe option. But when something better comes along, you simply cease to exist. The most painful thing is to realize that you are being treated as something disposable while investing real feelings. You organize your emotional life around the possibility of it, while it just fits you into the empty spaces of the agenda. This asymmetry is the root of the suffering you feel. There is no reciprocity, there is no balance, there is no respect. Men who act like this usually keep several people in the same position. You're not the only one waiting for crumbs of attention. He has built a network of options where no one is really chosen, but everyone is kept close. This maximizes the chances of him always having someone available without having to commit to anyone. The central question is, how long are you willing to stay in this position? How much of your life will you dedicate to someone who sees you as a second option? The first step to getting out of this place is to recognize that you are in it. Then comes the hardest part, which is accepting that nothing you do is going to make you his priority. That change needs to come from him, and it usually doesn't. What keeps you stuck in this dynamic is often hope. The hope that one day he will wake up and realize how special you are. The hope that he will value everything you offer, but this hope is built on illusions that he plants himself. Every time he comes back, he renews that hope. And so you remain stuck in a cycle that never evolves into anything concrete. 4. The projection of the Jungian shadow. There is a psychological concept that explains a lot about this behavior. The shadow. Every human being has aspects of themselves that they reject, deny, or don't want to face. These are the parts that we consider bad, shameful, or unacceptable. Instead of integrating these aspects, people tend to project them onto others. When a man keeps you on this emotional seesaw, he's projecting parts of himself onto you that he can't accept. If he's afraid of commitment, he may accuse you of being too demanding. If he's insecure, it can make you feel like you're never enough. If he's emotionally unavailable, he may complain that you're needy. Everything he doesn't solve internally ends up being thrown at you. This projection serves as a defense mechanism. It's more comfortable to blame you for wanting clarity than to admit that he's afraid of real intimacy. It's easier to say that you demand too much than to acknowledge that he's not willing to give anything. By placing the blame on you, he keeps intact the image he has of himself. The danger of this dynamic is that you may start to believe these projections. You start to question if you really are too demanding, if you are asking too much, if you should be more patient. Gradually, you internalize his problems as if they were your own. This is one of the most subtle forms of emotional manipulation. The truth is, the problem was never you. You're not difficult, you're not demanding, you're not asking for too much. You simply want the basics of a relationship: presence, clarity, and respect. The fact that he can't offer this reveals his limitations, not yours. As long as he does not face his own shadow, he will continue to project on you and all the other people who cross his path. The saddest thing is to see how these projections undermine your self-esteem over time. You begin to doubt yourself, to constantly question yourself, to modify your behavior by trying to fit into his unrealistic expectations. But no matter how much you change, it will never be enough. Because the problem is not with you, it is in his inability to deal with his own inner demons. 5. The ego inflated by female attention. There is a type of man who feeds on the number of women interested in him. The more female attention he gets, the bigger his ego gets. You are not valued for the person you are, but for the contribution you make to their inflated self-image. Each woman who shows interest is like an invisible trophy that he collects. This pattern of behavior reveals an enormous emotional immaturity. A mature man doesn't need multiple sources of attention to feel good about himself. He knows who he is and does not depend on constant external validation. The immature man, on the other hand, measures his own value by the number of women he can keep interested. What happens is that he creates a kind of emotional harem. Several women in orbit, all waiting for more attention, all unconsciously competing with each other, and he is in the center, feeling powerful and desirable. This dynamic fuels narcissism and prevents any possibility of genuine connection. When you realize that you are part of this game, something inside you breaks. He discovers that while you nurtured real feelings, he was only adding points to his own ego. There is no love in this equation. There is no true consideration. There is only his interest in keeping you in the position that serves his purposes. What's worse is that these men are skilled at making every woman feel special. He knows exactly what to say to keep you engaged. Use the right words, show interest in strategic moments, create the illusion that you are different from others, but deep down, they're all getting the same calculated treatment. The only difference is the details that it adjusts according to the personality of each one. This type of behavior reveals not only immaturity, but also a complete lack of empathy. He is so focused on feeding his own ego that he cannot see the suffering he causes in the people around him. For him, you are just tools to strengthen his self-image. And as long as he continues to receive attention from multiple sources, he will have no motivation to change this destructive pattern. 6. When it disappears, it becomes a manipulation strategy. The disappearance is neither accidental nor coincidence. It's a deliberate tactic to keep you always insecure and anxious. The more you don't hear from him, the more you think about him. The more you think about it, the more you value the moments when it appears. This cycle of absence and presence creates an emotional addiction that is difficult to break. This pattern has a name in psychology: intermittent reinforcement. It is the same principle used in slot machines. You don't know when you'll get the reward, so keep trying. In his case, the reward is the attention he offers in an unpredictable way. You never know when he'll come back, but when he does, it feels so good that you forget all the suffering of waiting. This behavior is extremely manipulative because it plays with your emotions in a calculated way. He knows that if you're there all the time, you'll get used to it and maybe lose interest. But if he alternates between presence and absence, you are always in a state of emotional alert. She never relaxes, never feels safe, never knows what to expect. When it disappears, you go through several phases. First comes worry, then anxiety, then doubt about what you did wrong. You reread the latest conversations looking for clues, question every word, blame yourself for things that didn't even happen. And when he finally reappears, as if nothing had happened, you're so relieved that you don't even demand explanations. This dynamic puts you in a state of emotional submission. You learn not to ask questions, not to have expectations, to simply accept what he offers when he decides to offer it. Your dignity is gradually eroded. And the worst thing is that this happens so gradually that you don't even realize when you stopped respecting yourself. The cruelest thing about this strategy is that it works precisely because you have real feelings for him. If you didn't care, his disappearance would have no effect at all. But how you care, every absence of it turns into an inner torment, and he knows it. He knows exactly the power he has over his emotions and uses it without any remorse. 7. Why does it come back whenever you walk away? Have you ever noticed that whenever you really decide to move on, it reappears? It's no coincidence. It's an automatic response to losing control over you. As long as you were available and accessible, he could ignore you without consequence. But the moment he realizes that he is really losing you, something inside him awakens. This reaction has nothing to do with genuine love or regret. It's purely about regaining control that was slipping away. When you walk away, it loses the source of validation, the reserve option, the ego boost that you provided. Suddenly, what he took for granted is no longer available, and this bothers him deeply. That's why it comes back with all the intensity you've always wanted. Suddenly, he has time, he has attention, he has beautiful words. He promises change, talks about the future, acts as if he has finally realized his value. And it's easy to believe, because it's exactly what you've wanted to hear for so long. It seems that finally his feelings have been reciprocated. But the truth is hard. He hasn't changed. All this intensity is just a strategy to bring you back to the previous position. Once he feels that he has recovered you, that you are available and invested again, the old pattern repeats itself. Messages space out, plans don't come to fruition, emotional distance returns. You find out that it was just another cycle of the same manipulation. The real test is to observe his behavior after you come back. If he had really changed, consistency would have been maintained. But usually, in a few days or weeks, everything goes back to the way it was before. Because his goal was never to build something real with you. It was just to prevent you from building something real with someone else or with yourself. This pattern can repeat itself over and over again until you finally understand the game. Every time you give it another chance, you're reinforcing that this strategy works. He learns that no matter how many times he hurts you, he just needs to come back with the right words to get you back. And as long as you continue to believe that this time will be different, the cycle will never end. Change only happens when you stop participating in this game. How to break this cycle and regain your power. The first step to getting out of this trap is to recognize that you are in it. Stop justifying their behavior, making excuses, believing that things will change. Look at the facts. He keeps you in a position of uncertainty because it serves his interests, not yours. Accepting this truth hurts, but it is liberating. Once you recognize the pattern, you need to make a conscious decision to no longer participate in this game. That means cutting off real contact. not just threatening or making drama. It means blocking, deleting conversations, removing everything that keeps you connected to it. Each time you give in and respond to a message from him, you restart the cycle and invalidate your own decision. It is essential to understand that you cannot change it. It doesn't matter how patient, understanding, or loving you are. Change needs to come from within him, and it usually only happens when he loses something that really mattered. As long as you're available, there's no motivation for him to change. You have become complicit in your own suffering by remaining accessible. Regaining your power means relearning to value yourself. It means setting clear boundaries and respecting them. It means not accepting crumbs when you deserve the full feast. It means choosing temporary solitude instead of the company that diminishes you. At first, it will be difficult because you got used to his presence, even if it was a toxic presence. The final truth is this: you will only be free when the pain of staying is greater than the fear of leaving. As long as you hope that he will change, he will remain imprisoned. But when you really internalize that nothing will change and that you're wasting your life waiting for someone who will never really choose you, then you'll find the strength to leave and never look back. The healing process is not linear. There will be days when you will want to come back, when you will miss it, when you will doubt your decision. But every day you resist is a day you're getting stronger. Gradually, you will realize that you can live without it. And more importantly, you'll realize that you deserve so much more than he was ever able to offer.